So today is a day of celebration, and I think the first thing I would like you to do is to give yourselves a round of applause, because you guys made this what it is. I mean, the projects were fabulous. We rated them. They're not just me and the teachers, but a lot of people in the MIT community, CCL community, are looking forward to seeing what you guys did. I wanted to do a list of thank yous at the beginning while you're filling out the surveys. First and foremost, Nicole and Jeff have kind of made everything work here. And so we have something for them, which is, where is it? Where are those jackets?
Oh, they're over back there.
Okay.
Behind Mary Cat.
Behind me.
Okay.
I don't know what that.
Where? This one here? I don't know. Oh yeah. So one of the great things about working at PlayStation is you get incredibly great gear. And so I don't know, we got two. I hope we can find some fit. If you can't, then find somebody who does fit in it. But I'm not that that's too small. But I mean, Nicole has been keeping things rolling all along, sending emails. Jeff has been kind of looking after all of our visitors, and it's been a tremendous experience, not just for me, but for our team. So just generally also the CSAIL alliances, Andrew's done some photographs, Mary Cat, and the MIT video productions people who have been tremendous to work with, have recorded all these things. Hopefully our lectures will be up on YouTube after they've been edited. And Zach is our recorder today. Thank you, Zach. And I just want to call out the members of our team, the people who I relied on to come here to 6-degree weather or to snowstorms to give lectures. They were Nate Gross, Eric Flores, Gail Lucas, Ryan Valenza, Neil Ingram, Ram Barankin, Leanne Chukowski, Jen Corbett, and Fox Harrell from various places. So I want to thank them, and I appreciate if you give them a round of applause as well. Okay, so I probably would want to give you another minute or two to fill out survey before starting. We have an order which has nothing to do with the order of how the projects are rated, right? So it's pretty kind of picked it at random. I think they picked the order in terms of the order that people just dump things onto the webpage. So it has no predictive value. And of course, we will have a winner afterwards. But let's start. Nicole, who's our first person? I have a list, but if you have.
Hector Fan.
Is Hector here? Hector's not here yet. Okay. Who else?
The Nexus son. And your son? Yeah. Okay. They're next, and then we have Rupang. Rupang and you and Tawabasaki. Sorry if I butchered your names.
Maybe I should put the list up here.
Yeah.
They're coming. They're still coming.
We're still coming.
Okay. Well, it's okay. Let's take. We're in no really big hurry today. I hope nobody's dashing out at the end of the hour.
We have
Because.
a couple changes to the schedule anyway because we have somebody zooming in.
All right. Okay.
So
Okay.
give me a second. I'll send you the list. And
Okay.
hopefully they'll be here soon.
Okay. All right. This is cool. Also, my colleague Eric Flores started this little pattern of bringing people to State Park afterwards. So a few of us will go to State Park, the local watering hole, probably like 5 o'clock-ish, and we can set you up with some libation if you come. I will, not we. To my PlayStation colleagues, I'm not taking PlayStation money to buy drinks for MIT students. I'll pay with my own. So 5 o'clock, State Park. If you don't know where it is, grab one of us, and it'd really be great to talk to you, get some kind of casual feedback on how things went and how you feel about it. All right, you guys want to come and start? Who start setting up? Who's first again, Nicole? These guys here? Okay. All right, so do you want to bring your, you're going to need your laptop, right? You want to come up? No, wait, no, Hector's not here.
I will see if Hector's outside or in the vicinity. If not, YouTube.
Okay.
Is that the way you want to do it, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to wait for Hector. Yeah, you guys go ahead, please. So, and introduce yourself too, please, if you don't mind. Okay, right. This is the HDMI. Can you handle that?
Should be able to directly. I should be able to directly.
Okay. All right, and use the hand mic, please. And
Oh, this one?
yeah, this is for recording purposes. It's not for the room. It doesn't matter though, but make sure it's on.
Oh, it's just for recording?
It's just for recording. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's not my.
Okay, so Zach says it's good. So yeah, so please introduce yourselves.
Ready? All right. Okay. Hello,
Take it away.
everyone. My name is Sang, and this is Quincy. We're from the Tangible Media Group, and today we're presenting Packing Rush, our indie game. So, taking this class, we thought a lot about how AI is already helping developers making games faster. But we want to take to the next level by putting the AI inside the game. So we want to play the game with AI. And even better, coming from the Tangible Media Group, we want people to play the game with AI using their hands so they can feel and be the embodied player in the game. And also that makes the game experience more social. So here are our inspirations. We like the spatial kind of puzzle nature of Tetris. We like the GenAI nature of the Infinite Craft. Overcooked is very stressful, but in a very good way. Tower defense is interesting because it's very compatible with the pipeline nature of content generation. And finally, we're big fans of board games, and we want to bring Tangible into the play. So with all of that, we're proposing a local co-op game that has a tangible interface and infinite gameplay.
So this is the story of our game. You are an Amazon fulfillment center worker who must utilize different tools in this packing facility in the most efficient way of saving money and also getting the most amount of money. Be aware, objects coming from the conveyor belt might have different affinities with one another. So make sure you place it in the right orientation or pack it nicely, or else you will lose money. So why tangibles? Well, we think this collaborative nature of our game requires multiple parallel user interactions. So having tangibles as some kind of identification on the touchscreen will be will encourage that. And also it anchors the AI surprises that the AI generated surprises in a stable physical affordances in the metaphor of a packing situation. So here are the four objects we have. The main object is a packing box that catches the items that's dropped from the conveyor belt. The tape dispenser can swipe and turn the objects into a more tightly packed boxes so they don't interact with other objects in the box. And we also have a vacuum that sucks up different objects and put it on a different part of the conveyor belt. Last but not least, a steam iron flattens things, but some things cannot be flattened and you will break it if you do. This is the physical design we did. We have these conductive filament 3D prints, each with kind of this triangular 3-point system so that they register each object as unique identities.
And of course, we use AI to generate a lot of things. So the background music in the game is AI. The sound effects, they are all AI generated ahead of time. But most interesting, we use AI to build bespoke tools to help us discover new ways to convert like emoji into in-game assets. And we extensively use GitHub Copilot background agents to write the code while we're still in the commute. And also, we really envision a future where generative AI can bring content to game in real time rather than ahead of time. So in our system, we kind of partition the system into ahead of time and just-in-time generation. For things that don't really change, like sound and background music, that's ahead of time. But for in-game content, because each level is unique, we look at the level content and dynamically generate both the content and also how they interact with each other and with the tools. And one of the key lessons we learned is that emoji is really our friend because for AI, it is just text. So it can be really fast and you can manipulate it as if it's just text. But for human, it's graphic element. So it's very interesting and it's very attractive to the player.
Here's our demo.
Let me make the sound come through. Oh. Why is everyone's MacBook here? This is a novel situation.
Maybe just play it. It's fine.
All right, I'll try to play from my laptop. It might be a little bit quiet. Let's try it. Oh, it's really quiet.
It's really quiet. But basically what's going on in the game is we are communicating with each other to tell, the one person is doing the box, one person is organizing it. So we have this like really fast-paced, collaborative, I guess, interactive gameplay.
And we use the vacuum movers to strategically place the items. So the same type of things can be packed together, we move them together, and we try to not mix things up, and that's gonna take points away from us.
And then I guess the AI is surprising each time because you don't know what objects have what kind of relationship with one another. So you have to kind of, think about it logically.
Yep. Okay. Oh.
So kind of some like reflection we have from doing this experience is we still think that the future of making fun games still relies on the designer's creative instinct. There still needs to be a human in the loop. They can design the overall mechanics of the game, and an AI maybe serves as more of a unique feature that enables new kind of ways to interact with the game. So we're not replaced by AI yet.
I think that's it. We actually brought our game here, so after maybe the presentation, we can play it together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Who's next, Nicole?
Dr. Fan, are you here? Are you ready to present? Okay, great.
Okay.
Sorry, the internet is.
You need HDMI.
I think the internet is really bad. It's not open. The slide is on Google.
You need. Can't just give a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not sure.
I don't have a PowerPoint. It's on Google. Let me try my personal connection.
He's having internet.
Yeah, I can connect.
Can you?
Is it the,
Yeah, it's in my folder.
okay, I can connect. Okay.
Thanks, Nicole.
There you go. I don't know how
This
to start.
this is mine. This one.
I'll let you do it.
Where's my full screen? Yes. Okay, I'll just use the other one. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Hector.
I'll use the.
This one.
That's for recording. So it's you have to speak loudly
Okay.
because the room is not amplified. It's just you want the hand mic.
Okay, got it. Sure. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Hector. So my project's name is Time Traveling at Avebury, creating alternate reality in MR through AI and world models. So my focus on this project is really on narrative games. So this is one of the genre that's in games as defined as an expressive medium that allows participants to allow audience to become participants that their actions can actively create and influence the result. So historically, a lot of games has used strategies such as like branching narrative to provide players feedback to make them feel like their actions are meaningfully influence the result. And for this project, I'm focusing on this is a historical cultural heritage site called Avebury in the UK. And it's one of the Stonehenge and the circles. It's not the most famous Stonehenge, but it's located in the north of the famous one. But they are created around the same time. And a lot of those stones they have very long history, and throughout the history, their preservation is not always as we see today. So for instance, during the Middle Ages, a lot of people, they try to bury those stones and they try to like maybe use those stones for construction. And so a lot of those stones, they became buried in the ground or completely destroyed. But fortunately, there was an artist, he created a lot of drawings, very detailed drawings, which recorded sort of like the location of each stones and how they were placed in this site. So in 19th century, there's a person called Alexander Keeler who was able to evacuate the buried stones, and with those drawings as a reference, they were able to restore the original site. So this game's motivation is really how can we use AI to leverage how can AI to be leveraged to enable players to create alternate reality of this site and through their actions. And through their actions, the players are also be able to see what the result will be. So in that sense, we enhance the players' ability to understand and the history of this site through their action instead of they're being told what the story is. So the main idea is that when the game starts, you see a MR view. So you see the site sort of like floating in front of you. And I call that an MR view. And also there's a accompanying timeline UI at the bottom of the site, which allows you to choose different time period. So for instance, you have a present time and you can go back to 3000 BC. And when you're at a specific time period, you can select a button on the floating deck that allows you to transition to an immersive view, which is sort of like a VR perspective. So the interaction is kind of like allowing you to transition between a MR view and a VR view. And when you transition to a VR view, you will be able to observe those stones and also like and from time to time, you'll be able to say like historical figures, they are doing some sort of things to the stones. Maybe some people, they are trying to break it down, and the historical artist is trying to record what the original site looks like. So the interaction is that when the players, when they go back to the past, they can take actions with the site. There could be multiple possibilities. For instance, they could talk to certain players. They can talk to certain characters, or so. For instance, maybe their actions allows so this drawing, maybe they were never created, or the drawing were completely destroyed, or player could also stop those people from breaking those stones down or burying them. And then, so the technique I used here is, because I already have the 3D model of the site, currently, although it's not a very high fidelity, but with time, I can develop into a more high fidelity view. So within the game engine, I can capture a 360 image. And then I use Gemini to decipher what the player's action is and turn that actions into a description of what the future might be. So here I'm showing an example that this part of the stones are destroyed and maybe they're also misplaced. And so I send that 360 images to the world model created by the World Labs, which they just opened their API last week. And then the 360 images can be turned into actually a walkable digital world, as you see on the right side. This is a recreated alternate future, but other situation, those stones could be also completely gone, or the town became a city or something like that. Yeah, that's everything. Thank you.
Ruping Wang, Wang, and Safi here? They're still coming. Okay. Then gaze-driven moral NPCs? Is that right?
Yes.
And that would be Binyan, Michelle, Xu, and Wei Wu here? Here, hooray. Okay. Is this connection? This is my thing. It's not really the greatest in the world. Oh, gosh. You guys need a dongle too, don't you? Well, you have. Let's do that. It's probably better. Some just takes a second, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Try it again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zach. It started to work with this dongle, but then went directly here. Thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just get out of the way.
Device was that dongle? What sort of device is this one that was kind of causing crazy screen thing?
I don't know.
Something.
And then just remember to use that mic for the recording.
Okay. Okay. Hi. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Wei, and
And Michelle.
yes, we are so happy to presenting this. And what we are talking about is like the eye gazing, eye tracking, power lines, like a narrative games here. So we are talking about players can lie with dialogue options, but it is harder to lie with attention. So we're talking about AI are so powerful at analyzes what people is choosing and so good at what you are speaking. So, but it is didn't happens in the real world. When we judging people, we didn't rely what are they speaking. We rely on whether whether we have eye contact, whether he looks like nervous or anxious. So what I'm trying to figure out about is if we use the eye tracking things here. This is what we use. It's called the Toby. We can analyze the pupil size and whether the pupil's cognition inside your mind. And AI not only judge you based on what you choose, but also based on your cognition things. So what we're trying to present is where you look becomes the story. So the story is very simple. It's like you are under the wall. And you are a citizen of America, you have to bring a little child out of America. But a little child, whole family was died because their family want to rescue you and they died because of you. So you have to take this little child out of the town, out of the city, and with the after the dialogues, after the conversation with the guidance, with the searchers. So the searchers not believing what you choose, but only believing what you can show based on what your eyes are looking at. If you're looking at his gun, he will say, oh, you are very nervous. If he's looking at the exit or the passport, maybe you are confident and the child is yours. And based on this is our story. Yes, and we make all of this happens by the RenPy engine. It is a narrative game engine. We use the Python to connect everything together. Also the Toby things. We have MVP after this. If you're interested in it, come to me. We can try the demo here. And now it is the more details about the story.
Yeah, we made the web-based demo first, and in the beginning, we use gaze AOI. It's an area of interest because, to prove the concept, we want to make all the things simple. And we designed the characters, and and it's about when the player stare at the eyes and the face, it will the NPC would show the trust attitude. And if the player keep looking at the badge, the clothing, and the scar, is kind of the player is trying to figure out the social identity of this NPC. And if the players look at the hands and the weapon and all these things, and it's kind of the players see this NPC as an enemy. And these are some research basis from the behavior science to show the people look at others' face, eyes, hands, weapons, and also the clothing badges to show the different attitude. And that's how we design these characters. We try to put all these weapons, the social identity, the badges, and the scar, and all these things together. And this is Luca, and now we only interact with Luca. And this is Amy, and this is a little girl you want to bring her out. And this is our 2D version of that. It would calculate the time you stare at the different place. I show the area here because to make it more clear. And in the beginning, you need to calibrate with your eyes, and it have if you can see, there's the dialogue is upper of the interface, and it would show 3 kind of personality of this NPC. This one is a trust, and this one is suspicious, and this one is investigative. And I can show it later. And after we asked some friends to test with 2D demo, we got this flowchart.
Yes, and the flowchart will be used in the VR demo. So we make the VR demo things here, but it is a little bit harder for use this kind of things because we can only use the Quest Pro to analyze the eye tracking things. Although Apple Vision Pro have the eye tracking, we cannot use the data.
We also use PSVR 2.
Yeah, PSVR 2 from Sony. Thank you, Sony. And the future work is we are going to turn everything from 2D to 3D, and we are using eye tracking things from the Magic Bar to the Sony PSVR, P2 VR. PSVR 2, yes. And we are very welcome. If anybody interested in this project, we are we want to train the eye tracking data in the VR side instead of the 2D side. And if you are interested, you can connect us.
Yeah, because now we only use AOI, but in the future we're going to like combine more gaze data inside. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you so much.
I try my best.
Speak into this one for the recording.
Thank you. I made some. Just make sure.
Move it that way once you plug in.
It's working, right? Or
Yes, it is.
Hi everyone, I'm Mahsa and I'm excited to present a mixed reality escape room game called Mind Maze, which it's an escape room that actually builds itself from your own physical reality. So after having this very interesting lecture here, the main question I had in my mind was that what is the next paradigm that we can merge all of this tech together? Like what kind of interactions that we can build and what kind of unique games we can build from all of the AI capabilities and also other technical things that we got. So imagine you are in a room, for example, the game that you are playing can understand you have a Spider-Man poster, so probably you value responsibility, or you have some coffee stains on your desk, maybe you are under stress, or you are just someone like me who loves coffee. And also during your gameplay, it can understand, like, for example, you are stuck here, so we should give you some more hints or make it easier. So instead of just quitting the game, games actually adopts itself based on your capabilities. Escape rooms are quite popular in mixed reality. For example, this is Cryptic Cabinet. It's based on MetaQuest. It's a multiplayer game. You can play with your friends. But the problem with these games is that the escape room is always the same. You have the same puzzle, same difficulty, same room, and it's same for everyone. So to me, it's kind of boring. So what if we can use vision language models, use eye tracking data, and of course, with the medium of mixed reality, mix them all together and create a game called Mind Maze. So how does it work? This is a screenshot of a room that we want to play in. Using vision language models, AI understands like what's happening in this game, in this room, and also what is the meaning and semantic behind all of these objects. For example, we have all of these plants, we have some books, some bookshelves, maybe a fun robot vacuum cleaner. And let's say I start the game, AI asks me like, what are you in the mood for? What kind of games you want to play today? And I start with, for example, a murder mystery game. It actually creates a game for me, generates a story, and for example, let's say I'm going to be a botanic detective in this room. There's a murder here, and I'm going to solve some problems. It actually going to generate some virtual objects behind some of these, maybe plants, maybe these books, and with using eye tracking data, specifically where are the fixations, where are the saccadics and gaze behavior, and also other behavioral metrics. We can understand how player is playing in this environment. For example, if it is too easy for them, if they solve it really fast, the next puzzle would be harder for them. So you as a player, you have the agency and capability to create the story, but also the room that you are playing in as a reflection of your preferences, what you prefer, can also create the game and change it. So just a walkthrough for the user experience. Right now I'm prototyping on HTC focus vision, hopefully soon on PlayStation mixed reality headset. And I'm using some images to capture what is happening actually in the room, identifying some objects that we can build on. Also some interview with the user, what genre they prefer, what kind of games they want to play. And in the gameplay, AI creates the story, create some motivations and hints using small language models. We're gonna localize it on our gameplay to create some actual steps of the game. And with eye tracking, we track cognitive strategies and also attention behaviors of the user. For the gameplay, after rendering the game, if the user needs some helps, we highlight some objects for them or give them some visual cues. And of course, for the adjustment, I'm going to use some behavioral metrics and gaze metrics, such as this one, which is gaze entropy. For example, when the signal is dropping, it means that user is focusing on some objects, and using VLMs, we can understand the meaning of what is these actual objects that are focusing on. And when the signal is higher, it shows some reflections of exploration and uncertainty. So why does it matter? Of course, it's a fun game, but also it's a framework that we can understand adaptive education. In your space, for example, you want to learn STEM. Also, it can be a cognitive training that based on your comfort of your home. And of course, since I'm a researcher, it's going to be a research platform to study how people think and react.
Next is David. David Kim? Yes. Would you like to go?
Sure. Yes.
Closer the better.
Closer the better.
That's good. This is recording.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Hi, I'm David Kim. I'm a software engineer at this lab at MIT App Inventor, and our lab is about technology education, educational technology. And so this is kind of a side project that I'm doing as a side project of my job, and I just kind of want to share my thoughts about it. So the motivation of the side project is that there's a lot of talk about that jobs are going to be replaced. There's no longer going to be like some of the lectures in our classes are talking about like what's going to happen to future game developers. So I was thinking, so what are people going to do in the future? And one of my kind of hypotheses is that a lot of people, one of my guess is that people are going to be content creators. And this has already kind of started with YouTube. I mean, in YouTube, people are, I would say even like 10 years ago, people would not consider a YouTube creator a serious job. But there are now people who will take it as a job of creating YouTube contents. So what I was thinking is, what if we can make an ecosystem where people can create games? They're not just playing it, but they actively create games. So like you can think about like you have a PlayStation, and right now you're just a consumer of a game. But what if you can actually go into a platform, create your own PlayStation game, save it in a hub, and then other people can come play at it, and then maybe one of you can like say like, oh, there's a bug in this game. Let me go fix it, and then we share the game together, and that kind of has a very fun activity in it. But now the question here is, what do people need to know to properly create games? And this is the question that I'm tackling right now. So I've been taking, I took this other class from Professor Jerry Sussman, if you know him, and his class is about
high-level symbolic language, and in one of the sections is about creating a game. And what he's really want to teach here is about the idea of object-oriented programming thinking. So there's a lot of layers you need to know to properly create a game, whether it's graphics or things like that. But here he wants to talk about like how you can think about the world, a new world model of seeing the world in objects. We're all objects and we have properties and we influence each other's. So the platform I'm going to use is the App Inventor, which I am working on. And App Inventor is basically a platform where you can create mobile application with this Scratch-like block-based coding. So this is I should turn on the so this is kind of like an app where you can click a button and then a sound plays. And so here I'm going to show an example that I created with App Inventor, and this is like Pac-Man, and I think it's more interactive if I can actually show the app. And you can see that that's the app. And so this is the game code of this Pac-Man code, and you can see like there's the game initialization, there's the Pac-Man, the ghost, these are objects, and there's also the maps, which are also objects of the environment. And then on the right, you see like the x-coordinate conversation. This is kind of like how do these objects interact with each other. And then there is the ghost AI movement stuff over there. So these are the elements that you need to know to properly create a game. So actually last year I went to Japan to teach a bunch of middle school students, and the whole theme was about how to create a game. And after these are middle school students, I taught them App Inventor just for 3 days, and this is one of the games that the students created. So like this kind of music game. And like this is just one of my favorite, but like a lot of students created very high quality games. So one of the question is now, which one of the reasons I took this class is like, so now this generative AI stuff is happening. So how is it going to change our education? What do we need to teach? What are other things? Like, do we have to teach these concepts still? So that's one of the things that I'm researching and developing App Inventor, a curriculum, and App Inventor platform itself. So, you know, one of the dreams I have is like I kind of alluded to that, you know, not just game developers, but everybody is empowered to go create their own game. Like this is Final Fantasy IX, and like Final Fantasy is one of my favorite games, and like I dream that like people just can come in and like it's not just them consuming a game developed by someone else, but like they can actively create their own Final Fantasy game. So that was my presentation. Thank you.
David, Burke, Annie Zhu, and Ryan Quinn.
Hi everybody, I'm David Burke. This is Annie Zhu and Ryan Quinn.
You need to use 2 microphones.
Our project is on creating physics-based models using reinforcement learning agents trained on keyframed animations. Oh. Yeah, we'll pass it back and forth. So I'll let Ryan start us off.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. So you may ask, why does reinforcement learning have huge opportunities for animation? So 2 of the reasons are because keyframing animations, although they're useful and can be used for a certain subset of environments, they don't offer a lot of realism in, you know, global environments or ones that are unconstrained. And you could say, you know, procedural animation makes large steps towards addressing this for its adaptability, but it also removes a lot of the artistic control from the designer's hands. So in either case, animations are only as good as the developers plan for, and as we know, when it comes to gamers, you can never really plan for anything. Gamers, you know, they do what they want, they play the game as they choose, and you can never really plan for what they're gonna do next. And so the big question is, what if we can have the best of both worlds? what if we can give developers the opportunity to have artistic control over their animations while also offer them the opportunity to have animations that adapt to their environment and can be used in global contexts? And I'll pass this one off to David.
Yeah, so we found some research that had been done on this in the past. Mostly the same research group across 2 universities has been working on this issue for years. But an early study they did, or a program, was Deep Mimic, which basically did what we described. They took keyframed animations or motion capture, and they trained reinforcement learning models on physical models and basically rewarded them based on how close they were and their individual joint velocities and positions. And then as they developed that work, they eventually were able to get it to the point where they could train these models just on video. They could give them clips of animations and get them to copy them with a physically based model, which then allowed adding more variance and, as you can see here, throwing obstacles at the model to see how it adapts over time. So we attempted to do something similar to this. We created a animation skeleton in Blender of a spider monkey, the model we found online. And then each of us created our own animation. I was a psychopath and thought that I would be able to pull off a swinging animation, so a hint to how that turned out. But so after we created the animations, we created the animations in Blender, and then in Unity, we created a teacher model and a student model. So the student model had, we assigned joints, and initially, this right here is before we had any kind of control system next to the animated model. So you can see with no control whatsoever, this is what happens to the physics-based model. So initially, we tried to train a baseline model just to stand still. We figured we'd be able to, once we could do that, we could continue layering on other animation effects. And that seems simple enough. Teach the joints to be stable, be able to support their own weight. So the ghost view here is the teacher, and then the solid one is the student. So this is 3 days of training just to try to stand still. So in that 3 days, so I was running this in headless mode, which means not rendering the graphics, so it could go at 60 times speed, and we had 16 parallel instances running. So this is 3 days for me. It was a couple months for my computer. And we realized that this probably wasn't the right way. We probably weren't going to get to a swinging monkey from here. So going back to the research, doing a more careful dive, it turned out that trying to use reinforcement learning for the actual control system itself for stability was not the right move. That is not what previous research had been able to accomplish. What they tended to do was use PD controllers, basically the same kind of logic that goes into robotic systems to keep, say, like a claw stable. Basically doing joint mass systems with resistance. And when that was implemented, so this right here is with no reinforcement model applied. This is just standing up by the strength of its own joints. And then from there, we tried to train it for our individual animations. So each of us went on our own path to try to accomplish that, and did not get super far, but we certainly tried. So one of the biggest areas, I talked to some people I know that work in reinforcement learning. The 3 weeks that we spent on this project, I had people advise me from the beginning, that's usually about how much time you would put into hyperparameter tuning for something this complex. Like what we were doing was, by virtue of the time we had to, was basically throwing spaghetti at the wall. But in reality, going forward on a project like this, just figuring out optimal training parameters before even considering the scale of the model, that's a weeks-long process. We should have gone through all of that, tried many combinations, narrowed down what converges and what doesn't. And just it was too complicated of a model. It was an explosive action space. So going forward, if we attempt this again, we'll start much simpler. And thank you.
Actually, I just want to point out that some of the papers that these guys referenced by Jason Pang and Peter Abeel are some of those two researchers are collaborators with us at PlayStation. They've been working on various projects that are related to this animation. So Jason's at Simon Fraser now. Peter Abeel is a Berkeley guy, and for that matter, I don't know if you looked at Peter Abeel's lectures online. So I mean, if anybody wants to really learn nuts and bolts of reinforcement learning, Peter Abeel ABBEEL, has 6 lectures where he goes like line by line and really kind of explains what policy optimization is. So highly recommended. So thanks.
Cindy, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, we can. Cindy's joining us over Zoom. We're ready whenever you are.
Okay, I am ready. So hi everybody, I've met most of you in class, and I'm just going to jump right into the slides here. Okay, I'm going to do desktop share, and here we go. Okay, so I thought it would be fun to do a little game that I've always wanted to do and leverage AI in a couple different ways. So I'm introducing the puppy trainer. Are you ready for a puppy? How hard is it to walk a dog or take care of a dog? I'll tell you, the puppy on the left, at the top right, her name is Shakira. And Shakira used to be the little tiny puppy, and now she's like a very nice, calm dog who's now 12 years old. She wasn't always like that. She would jump out of car doors and attack dogs. She still snarls at some when they walk by. So it's not easy to have a puppy. It's not necessarily easy to have a dog, period. So, one of the things that I've heard from a lot of my friends, they have kids who want a puppy or a dog, and you don't really want to buy before you try. Exactly, you can't really take a puppy back. Anyway, so I came up with this idea of a puppy trainer. And so the idea here is that you can use reinforcement learning to train the little puppy here on the right, Peanut, I guess I'm calling her, although this would be customizable and you could choose whatever you wanted your dog to look like. And you will start issuing commands as the puppy walks down the street along a city street, a busy city street, a beach, a forest, to have some fun with that. You'll hit a bunch of obstacles, squirrels and people and other aggressive dogs and all sorts of things. And over time, that puppy will learn via TensorFlow how to better react given your keys. So if you see to the bottom right, bottom left, press S and arrows when you hit a squirrel. You'll start out with a distractible puppy, and you will train that puppy over time. And you'll actually learn yourself, like what the correct commands are. These are some of the examples of the obstacles and what you would try to have your dog learn how to handle and what the correct commands would be. You choose your commands, and over time you would learn more. And we could use an LLM to give you quick feedback. And you have to hit the keys. So I thought, without further ado, I would show you the fun little demo that I did. Did some live coding here. So here's Peanut. Can everybody see?
Yep.
Okay, so Peanut's just gonna start here and play. And so Peanut's like, I'm having it on a run, but I can walk Peanut and I can move it over, and it'll basically tell you when you're about to approach something, pigeon, or I'll just run through quickly because I know we're gonna, so they'll tell you, and so basically you're trying to avoid these obstacles, and the younger your dog, the more likely it is that you will, let's look at the settings here. So you can choose your dog. You can, of course, custom make it. You can choose a puppy that's easily distractible versus a well-trained dog. Again, that's sort of the setting, and then we keep reinforcing the behavior so it becomes better trained and less distracted. And you can also choose your training experience. Of course, a lot of this is, to some degree it's working. It's a little bit smoke and mirrors, but the idea is, you do a couple different levels, you level up, and then, you maybe would end up in a really busy crowd. This is practically impossible, and obviously the mechanic would be, you have to be able to succeed and continue. But overall, I think it was fun to make. And sorry? Did I say anything?
No, go ahead.
Anyway, the fun thing here is that I think that this could lend itself to not just a WebGL game, but also a phone accessible game where you could actually be issuing commands and walking down the street. Not necessarily, not looking at your phone, but you could actually be proving your ability to look at oncoming oncoming obstacles and be able to avoid them and prove to your mom and dad that you are actually ready to have a puppy. And the last slide here is that, I think it would be fun to then, let's say, sort of conquer certain levels. You could add different dogs, you could add different animals. You could also add sort of weather, even perhaps real time, like how Minecraft has weather, snow, and rain. How would you do depending on how slick the pavements were or something like that. So that is pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts?
No? Well, thank you, Cindy. Thanks for making the time to present today.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay. You have to use both microphones. Yeah, it's a little janky, sorry.
Hi everyone. I just
You need to use two mics. You need to use both mics
two mics.
at the same time.
Just hold this.
Just hold them both up close.
Oh, I see. Look at it. No problem. So hello everyone. I just represent our group to do this presentation. Our name is called the Last Survivor. So we are very interested in some emerging system. We try to combine with AI tools called a multi-agent system. Oh, closer. Shit. I think before that, I prefer to let you guys see a video demo we did for this project to have a very quickly overview. But don't worry, I will play the game in the end. So basically, this game is try to just in the beginning to spawn some AI agent creatures. So and then once they touch each other, they will blink and communicate with each other. And actually, they are following some rules. They will actually either collaborate with each other or either kill each other. So I think we want to simulate kind of brutal society. So who is the last person who can survive? Yeah. So the project overview, as I mentioned before, we are trying to use some LM to use somewhere. Because the reason why we use ChatGPT-4 is very cheap. Because we can for this agent it will very easily to have hundreds of calls. So I'm thinking. So I think our main purpose for this project is just to try to discuss about how the game as a medium to simulate the very complex system. So first of all, we want to just maybe we try to I think in this system maybe the player maybe have a very different role. I think previously in AAA game or any indie game, we are more to player to control everything. But maybe in our game, the player is more in the beginning maybe just observer, and in order to make the game speed faster a little bit, so it will become a pusher to just to accelerate the game time. So, but basically, I think in this way we try to to rethink maybe the AI is the real player for this game. Yeah, so we get some inspiration from a very cool example. I think we are amazed by the fireflies. So it's a very interesting creature. So they can you use that kind of different language by linking to each other, so they can have very efficient communication. I think this gave us a lot of inspiration. So I think our approach right now is just like each we have like each AI agent, and they communicate with each other, and we are more focused on the pattern they generate, and rather than the individual. So for the game, for the reference, we are very fascinated by this kind of so-called game theory. So we are just almost copy the whole mechanism. So like once you cheat, and it's just very similar to the trust, to test the trust with your friends or whatever. So it will have some dilemmas. And before that, I want to show you a very visual general view for our system, how the whole workflow works. So basically, we run everything in Unreal Engine, and we have like a Python file to real time to get those the hit event, which means like different agents. Once they hit each other, they start to communicate with each other. So we have like 4 creature types. Like one is like selfish, and another like kind of love to do collaborate things. Maybe some very cautious, and even have a very hostile one. So, but I think in order to kind of simulate the complexity, so like we also set up a rule like which is different from the game theory. So the rule is in this part. So like if you know, some types of creatures, once they found their other creature, they kind of like don't have enough lifespan. So here's their different behaviors. Like for example, 2 and 3, they tend to help the others, but like 1 and 4 will just totally ignore it. Like here's our like matrix. We just imagine different scenario to have different scores, but just in the matter of time, so we are just escape for a little bit. Here is I mentioned it's just Unreal Engine, Python server, LM. I want to like bring back to here again. So as you see here in the middle part is more like our this part we are generate some like hit events. So in this way, and in this UI, we can know like what event is going on. This is also like kind of too technical stuff. Like, yeah. So basically, we are. Yeah. So let me quickly show this. So basically, the idea is to just like get some like way. Get the event from the Unreal Engine and quickly send this to the the online server, and online server connect to a large language model, and then send it back to influence the game environment. So it has a loop. Like, yeah, so this is also the behavior. So I want to quickly show one more time. So basically in this way, you guys can know about like the whole system, but this is a long kind of demo. So I will speed up a little bit. So in the beginning, it actually run very fast, but like as you see, the environment is kind of like it's not very. It's actually is getting relatively big because their amount is kind of reduced. So because we are just set up a rule to let them random move. So I think they have less chance to meet with each other. So in this way, I have to use my mouse to manually push on some occasions. That's why I mentioned before, like sometimes like we can just like be a lazy person, be an observer. But under some occasions, we have to like to speed up a little bit. So like, yeah, so it's like maybe it's like other game, like other not very good game. So I'm trying to push and to So I think like sorry, one thing I forgot to mention. So in the original setup, I will So I will like, so here's the end. I want to quickly show you guys. So like the setup, I want to make the yellow wing, But actually, the blue one is more like more hostile. But actually, the blue one guy win. Yeah. So as you see here, yeah, yeah, it died. So, oh, I think this is the last time. Sorry again. This is like our second stage. We want to become it by it just begin with very severe like a creature, but we want to become kind of a snake, a flowing snake in the future. Yeah, so this is our final like future direction. So maybe we will later introduce like some mistake and like a random to make the system more organic and more intelligent. Thank you.
You have to hold both microphones there. Yeah.
All right. Is this?
Yeah. Sorry.
Is this good? All right. All right, some great presentations today. Mine is primarily coming from a very different background. So I have been a semi-pro gamer for about 15 years. I've been playing real-time strategy games for 25 plus years. And I wanted to actually focus on this theme of the fog of war, which is a specific theme in real-time strategy games, or any games for that matter, which is unknown information or hidden information. And that's where I start from the Alpha Star event in 2019, which is by Demis Hassabis, by Google DeepMind. Alpha Star was the AI specifically trained to defeat the world's best professional players in StarCraft, which is one of the most complex games created in real-time strategy. And AlphaStar crushed the competition, 10-love, against Mana, who was the best player in the world at the time. But the one time that the AI was allowed to look at the screen the way humans do, it lost. And after that, AlphaStar shut shop in terms of that event, had their marketing, had their PR, and obviously went on to other things like winning the Nobel Prize for other stuff, right? But this is exactly why we feel we need to understand that attention changes everything. So I'm a researcher at Harvard, and I've been focusing on issues like this. So I call this the fog of war problem. Some researchers have been talking about it over the years. Some say, amidst all of the AGI hype currently with LLMs, this is the real, among other pressing questions to really solve for AI. But that's not what this presentation is about. The idea with gaming here is that in games with hidden information, attention is a strategic resource. And if you look at the chart there, right? The red graph is actually from the top ranked player in the world, Mana. The blue chart is from AlphaStar, and the yellow is actually another model. This is actions per minute, which is how many actions you take per minute in real-time strategy games. That's super important in terms of your inputs versus the actions. It may seem that the AI is underperforming, but the actions it takes, and this has been researched well over, is so inhuman that there's nothing you can learn from those games as a human if you want to better yourself as a performer, as a gamer. So that's the entire idea, right? I myself analyzed like a bunch of players, including my own account, several others, and current LLM-based coaches, which I designed one as well as a prototype for this class, are very limited to text, right? They are going to analyze your data, they're going to do that super fast, and they're going to tell you stuff like, hey, if you're a Delhi, which is a civilization, don't play against Chinese. But the idea is humans actually overestimate this, or humans, read too much from the data. LLMs read a little too little. And the idea here is that the player's belief would be from their own personal records that they have a super low chance. They may just skip, rage quit, go to the next match. But the reality is they actually have an equal chance. But there's no real coach to tell you that, short of cheating yourself, having an inlay or overlay in the game itself. And that's a personal skill gap, right? Rather than something that is an AI issue or a game issue. But there is no real coach that exists today. Now, the the gap obviously can be solved in two different ways. There are a couple of other teams that spoke about eye gaze. That's definitely one of my proposals as well. But I do think as someone, and very comically, as someone who meditates as well for a very long time, I do measure my EEG data as well, which I did in a couple of other MIT classes last 2 years as well. And the idea here is if you're really, really in the zone, if you're zen-like in a particular game, and if you have EEG data backing that, you are almost meditative as opposed to stressed in games like Overcooked, etc. Right? Most mobile games will make you super stressed and anxious, but if you're really good at specific games and you measure it and you're confident, you can actually show that it's almost meditative. But again, these data points exist very sample size restricted today, and that's, I think, the idea with this project that I hope that I can get access to and build over the next few months. So if you combine eye gaze and if you combine EEG with LLM-based coaches, you have a very different interface to improve as a gamer, even if you're an intermediate to a beginner level expert, right? And that's, I think, the primary gap that hardware, that already exists and is validated will solve for. The other, obviously, is the science, and I don't need to go on and on, but novices are very different. Some of the classes spoke about this as well, right, as compared to experts, whether it's from the attention, the concentration, focus, as well as overall, heart rate, etc. Again, all measurable, not integrated, and that's, I guess, what the biggest gap is, which I do think I want to solve over the next few weeks to months. Yeah, the hypothesis is, together with these two, would solve for all of the problems that novices face, whether it's attention deficit, whether it's actions per minute in terms of taking the right action. As you saw in the AlphaStar graph, you don't need to take more actions, you just need to take the right actions. So you don't need to be superhuman and dexterous with your fingers. You just need to be knowing when to click what and what decisions to prioritize, right? And I feel overall this has ramifications not just for some few hundred or thousand gamers who want to improve their performance, but across learning outcomes. It increases the lowest denominator for anyone who is involved in games. So finally, this is the three lens which I already spoke of. The first layer exists. The second and third is what I expect to build. We can use PS VR2, as again another team spoke of, because Toby is already integrated. What is not integrated is EEG, and I think that's where SDK access is super important for just understanding how measuring these data points over multiple variables, or even if just two variables, how do you integrate that? I think LLMs can do the text part super quickly, but how do you really make sense of it, and how do you communicate that? Those are the more PlayStation level or Sony level questions, right? So yeah, in summary, this was just from a limited set of people that I spoke to, that I analyzed data off, and I looked at public data online. But I feel that with VR2, why PlayStation overall, why Sony? I think there are a number of reasons. There's already hardware. There are some restrictions in terms of what Toby can or cannot track. If you allow maybe like a limited research study to go ahead and track what maybe some consenting players allow themselves to do, you can definitely gain a lot more insight from amateurs to experts, right? Maybe you can start with experts. First-party studios also build games where attention and awareness matter. So it's not just about some small-ticket, indie games. It's about Ghost of Tsushima and so many others, big-ticket, probably AA, AAA rated games, where you can actually sample this. And finally, the tournaments themselves will provide you so much more rich data across real-time strategy games, not just restricted to one. Yeah, that's it. Of course, there are a couple of asks, but we can talk about it later. And that's overall the presentation. Thank you.
So generally speaking, I don't need a microphone for the room because I've got a booming voice. So let's give everybody another round of applause. This has been a lot of fun to teach this class. And we want you to go home with things. I want to announce, first of all, who we've decided will be the winners. But there's a T-shirt like this one for everyone. If there's not one of your size, for some reason one size runs out, we'll get you one of your size. But please come up afterwards. Now, this is always a tough time. Evaluating these proposals or these projects has been difficult. Me and Jen and a couple other colleagues have basically weighed in and kind of each gave our own assessments. So it's hard because not everybody wins, but some do, and so it's time to announce the ones that did. All right, so let me get my computer so that I don't make a mistake. We have two groups that are tied for second place. And I'll ask them to come up and get your swag. Group one that tied for second place is Organism Society game. And group two that tied for second place is Creating Physics-Based Models with RL Animation. So would you come up here? So there's three in each, and there are three items here. You're just going to have to decide who gets one. This is a PlayStation placemat, a PlayStation blanket, and a PlayStation controller. And you each, of course, get an MIT CCL Alliance's jacket. So thank you. Do we have the three people from the organism group? The organism?
Yeah, they are not available today. But
okay, well then they can't have their. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So like this is 1, 2, 3 for one group, and that's 1, 2, 3 for the other group. Okay, cool.
Okay. Y'all can meet up with me after.
Oh, okay. I see. You're different groups.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And the winner, and it was really hard to decide who this would be, are the creators of Packing Rush. And luckily, there are two of those winners because we have only 2 PS5s, but come on up if you would. And there's also a suite of games and a CCL Alliances. Yeah, please. Yep, come on up. And luckily, they've actually brought the game with them, so everybody can kind of play with this afterwards. So thank you again, all. Do I have anything else to say? Oh yeah. So certainly anybody who registered for this class or is taking this class either for credit or not will give you a feedback on all of these presentations. We won't do it now, but everybody put a lot of effort into making these projects, and we want to at least have something to say to you about what was good, what was not as good. It won't be long, but we will give you feedback on all of these things in the next week or two. So last but not least, let me again thank CCL Alliances and CCL for making this possible. It's been just a tremendous experience. Hope to do it again next year. And join us at State Park at 5 o'clock, and let's celebrate. And I think there may be still some food here, coffee, and that kind of thing. So
don't forget a T-shirt.
Yeah, everybody grab a T-shirt and other CCL notebooks, PlayStation notebooks. So yeah. So thanks again. Thank you, everybody.